Is intermittent fasting a healthy, good diet or a good way to live? So as a cardiologist, I get asked this question a lot. I posted an article on my blog. It's very long, has every single study you can possibly imagine that has to do with intermittent fasting. So intermittent fasting is not magical. It has no inherent magical properties. When you compare it to continuous energy restriction, or CER, versus IF, intermittent fasting, if it's isocaloric, where the calories are the same and the protein are the same, they lose the same amount of weight. Now, skipping breakfast has been shown in studies to increase atherosclerosis. The PISA trial, PESA, if you look that up online, maybe I'll put a link below. The PISA trial has shown that if you skip breakfast, you are more likely to have coronary artery disease, 1.3 times or 30% higher risk of atherosclerosis than somebody who doesn't skip breakfast. The other problem is people who do an intermittent fasting or keto style diet are more likely to develop disordered eating patterns and have eating disorders. The other problem with it is it's hard to do. If it doesn't fit into your schedule and you like eating or you're starving in the morning, you probably shouldn't do it because it's not sustainable long term. If this is the only way you're creating a calorie deficit and it's not sustainable, you're not going to last. The other problem is some people have medical conditions where they need to eat frequently. If you're diabetic, hypertensive, certain medical conditions require that you don't skip meals so your blood sugars, for example, don't fluctuate or whatever it might be. So those would be my basic thoughts on it. And then people ask, well, does it cause autophagy, or do you live longer because of the telomeres? They've compared that to regular eating and a calorie restriction. It doesn't provide any more longevity or any of that compared to regular calorie restriction. In fact, if you're regularly calorie restricted, you may actually live longer. We know from the 1960s there have been studies done that show that the less you eat, the longer you live. That's why a lot of people have advocated for prolonged fasts where they don't eat for a whole entire month. They'll eat very minimal amount of calories, just enough to stay alive. And I don't advocate that. That's very dangerous. But there have been studies done in the past where they've shown that people who eat the least actually live the longest. Now, there is a U-shaped or even J-shaped curve. People with the lowest BMIs have higher mortality. People with the highest BMIs have a higher mortality. But somewhere in the middle, between 20 to 25 is the sweet spot where your longevity is not affected by your obesity or your weight to height ratio, which is what all the BMI is. But anyways, those would be my thoughts. I'll put a link for it here. Go read that article, send it to your friends, send it to whoever needs to hear it, and share this video. Anybody who's thinking about doing intermittent fasting, and that's all I got for you.